Welcome back to Drunken Stupor, your uncle's third favorite TF2 weapon review series. I'm going to be talking about the Loch and Load today, Demo Man's easiest grenade launcher. At least that's the stigma I kind of sense from this weapon. It's gotten me a lot of air shots that I'm not sure I really deserve, but who am I kidding? Of course I deserved it. I'm showing you the clip of it right now. Look at how awesome I am. But what is so special about the Loch and Load? Why do I feel this weapon is easy? Well, give me a damn second, will you? The Loch and Load is a two-barreled grenade launcher that actually looks pretty nice. I guess with how non-original Demo's primary lineup is, I have to find the silver lining in the cosmetic value of the Iron Bomber and the Loch and Load. But that's enough drooling over the allure of long barrels. Rick Toffin can cover all that. Let's go over that text box that defines the weapon. The Loch and Load's projectiles are 25% faster than stock, and the grenades have no tumble in the air, meaning they experience significantly less air drag and allow the grenades to travel much further. I both love and kind of hate this about the weapon, but we'll talk about that in a sec. The Loch and Load also has a 20% damage bonus against engineer buildings. This used to also apply to people, but after a few too many scout one-shots that were a little too easy to hit, I'm sure you can imagine why that's no longer a thing. The Loch and Load's grenades also don't produce rollers. That's right, if you don't hit your shots, you don't get any damage out of the weapon at all. So you better hit those definitely hard to hit shots or else you won't win your interactions. Sounds kind of familiar. Almost sounds like how the entire class operates in general. But besides that, you actually are negatively affected by a lack of rollers. Your short range combat is positively improved by that borderline hit scan bonus, especially at this range. But not having any rollers can be an issue when you're unable to get a direct angle on a sentry. This essentially doubles down on the fact that you pretty much need direct line of sight to deal with a sentry. Not that rollers are a reliable way to deal with buildings themselves, but rather a nice deterrent for the guy who repairs them. And last but definitely not least, the weapon has a 25% smaller clip size, which means that the two-barreled grenade launcher carries 3 grenades at a time. I think I'm just too tired to even bother anymore. Just whatever, Valve, it's your game. Thankfully, you can just download a mod that lets you have 3 barrels. Okay, I see why Valve didn't remodel it. This change is only a little inconvenient though. 3 pipes instead of 4 is only 100 potential damage lost. And that can be pretty inconvenient for sure, but it's not like you've lost half your clip. Most enemies are 2-shot kills. 3 is still plenty. Unless you're rushed by 2 people who perfectly space themselves out as to not be hit by splash damage, but still close enough that you can't reload your weapon in time to have 2 shots for the next person. Which is a scenario that happens all the time, as I'm sure you could tell by how much footage I have of that not happening. I joke, but scenarios like that pop up in several different shapes or forms. It could be multiple sentries stacking up that you need to take care of as soon as possible, and with only 3 shots, you'll only be able to deal with 1.5 sentries. But that's really hardly an issue for Demo Man. Honestly, the biggest loss of potential damage is having no rollers. This means that anytime you miss, you lose 100 damage of a direct hit, and the potential 30 to 50 damage of a roller striking a random passerby. Or at least the potential to make an NG stand away from a sentry, even when you miss. Speaking of sentries, that 20% damage bonus is enough to allow you to 2-shot fully level buildings. This weapon was clearly designed to be Demo Man's building sniper, or I guess before the nerf more like a Demo Man's direct hit, which is kind of funny because that's what you're supposed to do anyways, but whatever. You have much faster projectile speed and higher damage, which is perfect for sniping buildings. And if you miss, you lose that damage completely. It's a good thing buildings can't move at all. That would be bad. And having higher building damage is nice, and I'm sure the engineer is really happy to see that his hard counter gets a weapon that doubles down on it. And that's something. Does Demo Man actually need this? Buildings are hardly an issue for Demo Man, so the Loch and Load just does it faster. What about buildings you can't see? Then you'll be relying on rollers or sticky bombs, and guess what? You don't have rollers. Because of this projectile speed boost, certain sentries can actually be harder to reach because of the arc of the projectile being simply too shallow. And trying to gauge shots that are more complicated can lead to more lost damage. Whereas with the stock or Iron Bomber, you can still at least get a little chip damage in there on the sentry that can help you gauge where the sentry is behind opaque walls. This is not really that big of a deal because the sticky bomb launcher is the default building shredder, but it's worth pointing out because it makes the weapon's individual viability less valuable to you when you can't perform certain tasks. Meaning self-imposed playstyles like Hybrid Knight might not be the best pairing for this weapon if you need to use roller damage for a well-placed sentry. This isn't a super common scenario, but it will definitely happen. And this is something that really impedes the Demo Knight hybrid playstyle simply because you lose that individual versatility that deals with more niche scenarios. which is kind of funny that a weapon that should fill a niche also shuts you out of something that would be really valuable to you. But outside of fringe cases where you aren't running a sticky bomb launcher, this weapon is a nice little bonus when you come across some poor NG nest. Being able to get rid of buildings extra quickly from further away is very nice, and there is absolutely a place for a weapon like this in a casual match of TF2. If you don't have a medic that's willing to help you push a stubborn nest, you can swap to this weapon and snipe NG nests without having to worry about taking damage. And even if you are within the sentry range, you'll still take less damage since you will destroy the nest faster. Take that, medic. I didn't need you anyway. Now, to be fair to medics, medic cooperation over the years has become significantly more common, at least in my experiences. Obviously, you're probably not going to join the same games I'm playing, but from what I've noticed, medic cooperation is significantly better. Love you, medics. And sure, you can still snipe the nest with your stickies. Charging them up gives you the speed and distance you need to poke at the nest from further away. But this is obviously less effective because the engineer has a larger window for counterplay, both because he doesn't need to swap off his pistol or wrangler to deal with stickies, and because he has more time to react to a bunch of bombs that make a bright flash when they arm. Not to mention that at this distance where this argument is valid, you'll be spending a lot of time charging your stickies to make the shot, which again gives the engineer tons of time to make repairs or reposition. And I think this is one of the strongest arguments in favor of the lock and load, not just plain sentry destruction. That's something Demo doesn't really need much help with, but full-on denial of repositioning. You deal with buildings so fast that the NG can't even think of moving before his nest is already gone. And if you watch my video on Demo versus NG, you'd know how important this type of decision making is for an engineer. I want to move away from building destruction now because I want to talk about how this changes your player interactions. Let's start off with those snipes. Oh man, this is satisfying. Pipe snipes are already a big deal for me, and being able to hit them at further ranges is insane, and I'm sure the players love being sniped too. And bonus points if you out-snipe a sniper, because that guy needs to be put down a peg anyways. The high speed allows you to more easily hit pipes within Demo's stock range, and also allow you to hit even crazier snipes from further away. And if you can get someone into a pipe snipe airshot combo, ooh, that feels real good. And the lack of a fourth pipe can make a small difference, but since your effective range is extended, it gives you more time to take cover and reload, or just reload in front of someone who is helpless to stop you at this range. Unless it's a squirrely little prick with a shotgun. Or maybe not, because this weapon doesn't put Demo in a time dilation. His projectiles are still the same speed, regardless of how close the enemy is. And this is where I start wondering if this maybe makes Demo Man's pipes a little too easy. The closer someone gets to you, the more likely they are to get hit by a pipe that they could barely even react to. Even more confusing movements against Demo might not work because he basically has a hit scan grenade launcher now, and Lord forbid he hits you in the feet. If this Demo's been playing the game for longer than 20 seconds, you'll die in the air for sure. Unless you surf his pipe like a sweat. In that case, nice. Yay. I'm sure you can imagine why I don't like how easy this can make pipe hits. Demo Man is insanely strong at his effective range. So when you take a weapon that makes his effective range not just further, but also closer, you can hypothetically have a super powerful Demo Man that can only really be stopped by scouts, snipers, and spies. Pyros can manage too if they're nuts, but the skill required for that does not scale to the amount of skill that the Demo needs to hit these easy pipe shots. What I'm trying to say is it's not fair for the Pyro. I guess what I'm trying to say is that this weapon can feel objectively unfair at times. Demo's only balancing factor with this weapon is his ammo count and reload speed. I guess his aim too, but I just got done telling you how much easier that becomes with this weapon. There are obviously still counters to a Demo with a lock and load. Demo still rarely turns around when he's focused on far shots, and with this weapon, Demo is even more focused on faraway shots, meaning spies get a free stab more often. In the same vein, snipers also have the upper hand when it comes to long range. Who would have seen that coming? So if you see a pesky Demo wiping your team, you already know what to do. I mean, this applies to all Demo men usually, but I found that while playing with the lock and load, I was trying to take higher ground for those satisfying snipes, which made me more vulnerable to being an open-minded man. As for secondaries, I personally didn't really deviate much away from the sticky bomb launcher. The quickie bomb launcher could be a good pairing if you're looking for good long range and quick self-defense. The stickies give you a lot more control in most scenarios, so this does end up being a little redundant since I'd rather snipe with stickies instead of pipes, and save my pipes for other situations. I don't think I need to explain the Scottish resistance here. Its modus operandi is the exact same, but now you have a weapon that makes hitting your emergency pipes a little easier. Easier is subjective, by the way. I will talk about that in a second. If you're looking for good defense and moderate offense, this combo is good for you. The sticky jump. The shields are there. I almost always prefer the Tide Turner for Hybrid Knight, but there's nothing wrong with the other shields. This is a pairing that doesn't really make sense to me, as I almost always will prefer to have rollers for sentries I can't peek under any circumstance. You can two-shot any building that NG puts down now, but sometimes the damage you take from getting a direct line of sight is a big ask, and this is assuming there isn't a team around the NG's stuff.
Attack! Soldier! Dominated, you skirt-twirling drunk!
I have a few gripes with this weapon, and honestly, this is why I rarely use the weapon. The projectile speed makes it literally impossible to use the arc to your advantage. If you see a sentry or person posted up behind a wall, you have no choice but to get a direct line of sight on them. Without rollers or even a good arc, you can't do demo man things that make you effective at building destruction. Okay, this isn't necessarily true, but I honestly found it incredibly difficult to hit my pipes with people behind walls. Like this sniper, for example, even if he didn't move here, I still wouldn't have been able to hit him because of where these pipes were arcing to. It just feels counterintuitive in a way that really pushes me away from the weapon. The air shots are really cool, I can't deny that, but man, my muscle memory is destroyed when I use this thing. I could go one play session without using it, and just like that, I've basically forgotten how it operates. And it's not like I haven't given it a fair chance to integrate its mechanics into my memory, I just think that the weapon is inherently less satisfying to use than the other grenade launchers. And that is more than likely just me. The gratification that weapons provide is subjective. Maybe it's the sound design. Seriously, the firing sounds like someone is being smacked by wet lettuce. Now, I sit here and complain about the borderline hit scan of the lock and load, but I haven't seen anyone really get too mad about it. So maybe it's just me who feels bad about getting a kill I maybe didn't deserve. It's not worth getting upset over a game that is never going to get any balance updates ever again. We just have to adapt to the weapons that we're stuck with. And that's alright. I can't really recommend this weapon for aspiring demo men who have a hard time hitting their pipes either, as this will develop a completely different type of muscle memory. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that, and you can call me a hateful purist and buy a strange lock and load, but I will always recommend learning with stock weapons first before anything else. But that's only my recommendation. I mean, come on, don't ever listen to YouTubers, they only try to brainwash you into evil shit or whatever grandma says. Anyways, that's pretty much all I have to talk about. This weapon is good and fun, and I would highly recommend it if you're looking to spice things up. It is unfortunate that it can feel a little unfair, but hey, it could be so much worse. At least the demo man doesn't have a scorch shot. Thanks for stopping by and have a great day or night wherever you are, and I will see you all in the next one.